This podcast is brought to you by Penji. Penji is a creative subscription service that gives you access to pre-vetted, agency-trained creatives from all over the world. From graphic design to illustrations to social media management and web development, it's all included for one monthly price. It's time to say goodbye to the hassle of searching for top-notch creative talent. With Penji, you get quality and consistency delivered right to your inbox every day, carefully crafted for you by humans. So meet your new creative team today. Head over to penji.co for more and enter the coupon code located within the podcast show notes.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me on the Fully Managed podcast. My name is Shannon, and I'm joined here with Logan. Thank you so much for joining me, Logan, today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Shannon.
I appreciate it. So today, we're going to start with a fun little game. Hopefully, not putting you on the spot too much. As a marketer, I think these are really fun. They're kind of I think this might be my favorite game to play. So,
Sure.
This is called Market Me This. So, I'm going to give you a very obscure product, and you are going to develop a plan for it. Obviously, this is not real life. There's so much more that goes into developing a plan. We all know this, but this is like a loose template of what you do for this product. Does that sound good?
Sure.
Cool. Feel free to delve into whatever you prefer to go into about it. It's not that deep, but okay. So, you ready?
Yep.
Okay. Socks with pockets.
Socks with pockets. Okay, so I'm immediately thinking about Apple. For some people, this is a life changer. And it is something that is so small. Sometimes it's really in the little things. And it's those little things that can help you tell the most fun stories. And so that's what I would be focusing in on is, who are the people that they want to have like that little extra thing they can just sock away, and that's probably the name that it would be. So I'm thinking about like, kids, if they're at like slumber parties or whatever, having something that they can kind of hide in there. Honestly, I think you would end up like with some funny videos. This is probably where I would want to go with this, like some funny YouTube videos of this. And just thinking realistically, there probably would be some people who would want to have extra hiding places for nefarious reasons.
Yeah, I would definitely. That was like the first thing that would come to mind. Like people trying to sneak things into concerts.
Across borders, into concerts, just into places where it shouldn't be. Like,
things should not be.
Certain snaking things into test rooms, like, all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. It could also be kind of fun to like, think about like those Mentos commercials where everything was like really cheeky with those Mentos. They were just like doing ridiculous and stupid things. And you could do something like that. They're just like hiding away, they're stocking away their little contraband as they like go places where they're not supposed to have those things. So yeah, I don't know. I think that'd be kind of fun to shoot some cheeky videos like that. Just have fun with it. It sounds ridiculous, but also sounds like something would be like, I need that in my life.
Well, this one actually has utility for it. The last one I gave was spaghetti scissors, so you got a little lucky. I do really like it. Spaghetti scissors is for not scissors made of spaghetti. Scissors for specifically cutting spaghetti, which was like a really dumb idea on my part, but also I'm here to make it difficult. Socks with pockets has utility to it. That actually kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Kid element that you brought into it, because I do kind of see like a 90s kind of moon shoes commercial, like where it's like sock it and you put something in your sock.
It's absolutely. I think you put that in, put it on some Disney, some Nickelodeon, give it some airtime there. There's gonna be kids who are like, I need this.
Yes, and then there are going to be kids that grow up in 15 more years and realize that it has other utilities that are not fun and giggles, I guess.
Yep, that's it.
Well, I think that you did a great job with that. I think that I might have set you up for success in the idea. makes much more use than previous products give to people. So I give you a little give you a one up for that. But again, thank you so much for joining me today. For all those that do not know, this is the Fully Managed Podcast. We're here to talk about marketing and business tips to help assist you on your business journey. Again, I'm your host, Shannon, and I'm joined here today with Logan from StorySellers. Thank you so much for joining me today again.
Yeah, thanks. I'm really glad to be here.
I appreciate it. So, could you start by telling us a little bit about yourself? Kind of like how you got to this point in your professional career, what you're doing now, and maybe your ideals for the future.
Okay, so how I got to where I am now, I graduated Belmont University. It was from a private university here in Nashville, Tennessee, and got a couple of entry-level jobs into digital marketing businesses. And at these different businesses, they weren't really the most ethical places. I really kind of learned the industry from the wrong end around of like, oh, okay, here's how we're taking advantage of people and lying to them and getting them to do things that we're not really executing on. And it took me way too long to figure out, oh, that's what we're doing here. Because again, I didn't know anything.
Yeah,
My first job out of college was in a commercial construction office, and I was like, I need to get out of here. I mean, this is killing me. So let me do something with marketing. I can be in an office. I can be creative. Let me try that. And then getting entry level, and then just kind of having to teach myself, and then learning like, oh wait, this is what we're doing here, but this is what we should be doing to help people. So it was 2012. It was when I left that second job, I went out on my own. So I was very determined that I don't have at that time the competency to help people, but I knew I had the integrity. So that's what I went with. And there's a ton of talent here in Nashville and close by, but I knew that there was always going to be room for someone who treated people well and treated people like the way that they wanted to be treated. So that's what I started with. And that was 2012. So we're going on 13 years ago. Started off with just doing websites mainly because that was the most accessible form of value that I could offer people. But since then, I've been learning new skills of, okay, you have a website now. And I've really been diving more into using the power of story to help people reach their customers and build trust, because nothing builds trust like a good story. And you can even get into the science of it. And I'm no scientist. I'm not a psychology person, but I do know that when you go immediately into trying to sell someone, they're going to have those walls come up, and they're going to be like, what is this? We're all told to all the time. We're very good picking up on when someone's trying to sell to us, and those walls come up immediately, and we're on guard against this person. We're always looking for some way to like invalidate or discredit what they're saying because we don't want to be sold to. We don't want to be taken advantage of. But if someone's coming along and they're telling us a story, well, that doesn't activate in us. There's nothing to argue. There's nothing to really discredit. Like, I can't really disagree with you unless you're telling me something ridiculous. You're telling me a story, your story, I'm going to listen. And what's going to happen is I'm going to look for what are those things that I can connect with you on. What are those things that I can relate? And what's really cool then is if you say something and I think to myself, oh, you too? That happened to you too? Or I know what that's like. Now there's a connection. Now I trust you. And for businesses nowadays, there's a lot of ways to grow your business and to people. But getting them to trust you, I mean, that is gold. That is the way to do it, because first off, that means you started from a place that is trustworthy to begin with, and you're communicating in a way that gets people on your side. Now, not only are those people willing to buy from you, but they're going to be happy that they bought from you, and they're going to tell other people about how great it was to work. and it only gets easier and easier for you. Whereas on the opposite end, what I saw were people who were taking shortcuts and taking advantage of people and lying to them. And I can fool you for now, and I can get your money now. But as time goes on, all of a sudden I'm becoming a story about how you were taken advantage of. And now that's the story you're telling your friends. And now it's going to be that much harder for me and my company to grow because now our reputation is just shit. And
Yeah.
that's, so I like the former option of let's just be good. Let's connect with people. Let's get them real value and let's get them on our side by telling really good stories that they want to hear.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think that having your story told, I actually just talked to someone earlier today about how they basically create books for establishing credibility of someone's story for business owners, which I thought was kind of cool. Like a cool angle about it. But I do believe that even establishing a story establishes credibility with a certain audience for sure. Like even with your story, I think that people are more likely, and you probably run into this, of trusting you based off of you having that integrity and stating that that's why you're not, working in this other space. And people value that. And like people are going to, maybe someone who was burned by like a previous agency or person or business or whatever it may be more likely to go to you because they have that same sentiment like, oh, this does happen to people.
And it really does. That, over 13 years, I've worked with a lot of people. I'm talking to someone right now. I mean, it's like, I'm always like, you pick me at any point in the year. I'm probably in conversations with at least one, probably more people who are in a bad spot. And I'm trying to help them out of it. They signed a 12-month agreement. They're 6 months in and they realize like, oh, this happened. But they have all of our information. They control everything we have. Their names are on everything. And what do we do? And, so it gets really sticky and they don't know what to do. And sometimes they really just need someone to just come in there and say, hey, let me help you out. Let me hold your hand. Here's the best way forward. And yeah, being able to have someone that you can trust makes all the difference. And like I said, there are a ton of extremely talented, very trustworthy people out there. And I think people would just do really well to be a little bit more discerning and wait on one of them to come along rather than someone who's just, they talk a good game, they make big promises. Oh, but you got to sign this big contract.
Yes. I do hear this very often. It's really disheartening sometimes because I talk to a lot of people that are a part of agencies, have their own or are higher up in whatever or someone else's. And I hear that so often that someone comes to them because they've been burned by another agency. And it's funny because the sheer amount that I've talked to, I'm like, which ones are the ones that are burned? The people that I don't know about, because obviously I'm only hearing good things about everyone. But it is definitely something that I notice is a problem. And it's weird because I think that sometimes with agency work, because everyone has their own plan of doing things, a lot of things are kind of, for lack of better phrasing, arbitrary, where people don't know what to expect or what to look for or how to monitor how things are going. And therefore, once they get to, the end deadline or whatever it may be for what they're expecting, it's not there. And they didn't know much about the process in order to, you know, keep tabs on what's going on. And therefore, I think it's something that it's a place that can take advantage of people more easily that don't know enough about it. And it's really very sad.
Yeah, there is a lot of ignorance and a lot of opportunity to profit off of that ignorance. And then you can easily have people who do get very arbitrary and like, I'm going to post one YouTube video a month, 4 LinkedIn posts a month, and we're going to get 7 or 8 Instagram reels. And like, that is our plan. And like this very arbitrary set of numbers. And where are you getting that from?
Yeah, like, what's the reason behind this? Is this a template also? Because it doesn't work for everyone. Like the exact same, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, I'm a big believer that sharing your story in video form is incredibly powerful. I mean, that's a very obvious, easy thing to say, but then it gets harder. It's like, okay, well, how often, where do I do that? And so that's where the conversation and talking to someone who's willing to listen to you and put forth brain power and critical thinking to figure out, okay, well, this is what we should, your experience. I actually had a video call earlier today where someone they were working with a marketing person. They have to be told over and over again, like, no, we're working in this neighborhood, these neighborhoods. This is all we want to target. We don't want to target the entire city, just these neighborhoods. Not, oh, really? Sure. That's who we are. That's who we are. Like, why are we still talking to you? And I'm talking to them, and they're like in this probationary period with them, and I'm just, please tell me you didn't sign anything like long term with them because they're not even listening to you.
It's so interesting because I think that there's so many agencies that take the perspective of that they know better. And of course, people are
Okay.
coming to them for a reason. Obviously, they might not know a lot about marketing itself, but they also are in their industry. Like they know the ins and outs of their industry. They know what works already. Maybe they just need it to work better. And you might have conflicting views with that client of like what might work best based off of your research or whatever. But you're also there to make them happy. You can always work with them. Say their idea is horrible. I don't know. Like your client's idea is so bad. You can try to explain to them that, hey, I don't think this is a good idea because X, Y, and Z. But if they want to do it a very specific way and they're coming to you for help, then you can preface, hey, I don't know if this is going to work, but I will do this for you because that's what you want. And I don't understand the problem with that. Like you are getting paid regardless of whether you fail in that scenario because you've actively communicated with them that maybe it's not a good idea, but you can still try to do what they suggest.
Yes, I think that is one of those push and pull balances of that relationship. I mean, and it really is a relationship. And it's like, you're the expert, so I'm going to have to rely on you on some things. But also, like, it is in my best interest that everything we do is just consistently giving you a higher return, that I'm making you more money than what you're paying me because I want to work with you long term. So if we try this, I think it's going to be a waste of money, and that could reflect bad on me. I don't want that because I think that if we go this way, we're going to see, like, this just makes more sense to me. I think this just tells a better story. It has a better connection with the people you're trying to do. And your idea, I feel like it's just way too salesy or whatever the case is. Like it just doesn't feel good. Honestly, take a look at it. Like, how does it make you feel? And I think a lot of what we do is so subjective and it comes down to taste level and all kinds of things like that. Because it's kind of impossible to say like, well, if we do things this way, we're going to get this many more hundreds or thousands of people to really vibrate. So the best thing I try to do is tell people, like, let's make sure it's authentic to who you are. Like if that is our guiding light, because like we can't predict, we can't know how the market is going to respond to this. We don't know all, where exactly this, who's exactly this. We have some control over it, but the one thing that is completely in our control is whatever we put out there, it's going to be 100%, or as close to that as possible. And let that be the goal. So I'm kind of like, yeah, they're the expert and the content and everything has to fit around who they are and their business. And I feel like my voice, making sure that this is truthful and it's actually helpful and interesting.
Do you have a way, because you have this view on, not taking advantage of people, which is lovely, by the way. Do you have a way of vetting clients that have this like similar philosophy to you? Because I know that they're, it does become sticky where you might be doing marketing for someone that is actively doing something contradictory to what you believe.
And that's where it can get awkward. When I talk to people, I try to find out about them as much as I can. If it's a word of mouth referral, I talk to that person who's giving me the referral about them. And that's usually every single time. if they come to me and they have like Google Business reviews or any kind of reviews, I could go on there and look to see what does a 5-star review look like? What does a 1-star look like? What kind of responses are they getting? And if they have anything on socials or their LinkedIn, getting a feel for how do they talk to people. I mean, I found a guy I wanted to work with. I found a YouTube video of him from 7 years ago with only 50 views on it. And I watched it. It was only like 2 minutes long. I was like, I'm seeing a side of you that I think is great. I think this is very honest and open and vulnerable. Like you seem like a genuinely good person. So I look for those things, and I try to do as much research as possible. And if we can't find much or can't find anything, then I have a long conversation with them like this over Zoom. I want to see their body language. I want to pick up on who they are. Get a sense for how they deal with people, how they deal with conflict, how they deal with me, all of that. So really getting a good sense for how that person is. I'm not sure how much like the personality tests and things like that you didn't delve into. I think about the Enneagram, if you're familiar with that.
No, I would love for you to explain it. It doesn't look at you without giving. I think like it's healthy.
Sure. Yeah, no worries. So the Enneagram, it's a personality test that's like thousands of years old. It's ancient. It's an ancient way of describing. And if you look into it, there's so many different bodies because there's no like centralized body that owns it. It's this long held belief of like people's personalities, and it's just all around. Find all kinds of people who've studied into this, and it's there's a lot of books from all kinds of people. It's great.
Is this the acronym one that it gives you? Am I like confusing it with something else?
Yeah, I think you're maybe thinking Myers-Briggs with like INTJ.
Yes. Okay. My psychology it's been a long time.
Sure. So this is numbers 1 through 9, and then there's every number corresponds to something. My brother is an 8, so he's a challenger. He's willing to say the truth to you. He doesn't care who you are, how powerful you are, what you mean to him, or anything. He's going to confront you directly, but he's going to do it in a way that is, I don't know a better word to use other than that. He's very good at healthy confrontation, and I see him do it. I'm like, I'm glad people like you exist, because he does it naturally. For me, my number, I'm a 9, and a 9, kind of funny that we're right next to each other, but a 9, we're the peacemakers. We want everyone to be. So I want to make sure I'm happy, my team is happy, my clients are happy, and all of that. So when I'm talking to someone new and I'm wanting to learn more about them, I want to make sure that when we all work together, we're going to make each other. And if someone I'm picking up on like, okay, you're going to be terrible to work with. You're going to be passing blame on other people. You're going to do things that are pretty toxic. I don't need it. I don't want it. And my team is very relieved. They're to avoid someone like that because they don't want it either. We want to work with people who are just trying to build a business and trying to help people. And, if they're genuinely good people and we get along, that's awesome. What I'm not going to do is put up with people who their morals are not great. Their integrity is whatever they believe in just kind of changes day to day based off of where the money's coming from. So yeah, that's you can find out a lot by having just a long, honest conversation with people. And I'm very comfortable being open and vulnerable about everything I've been through and I've learned. And how people respond to that, how they reciprocate. You can learn a lot about someone.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I also think it's a testament to what you like, the respect that you have for yourself and not only your clients but also your staff, because I think that there is a lot of people that will accept notably a bad relationship with a client over just making money on a client. And I think that when you're suffering through a campaign, is it really worth the money? Is it it's also I think that a lot of people don't consider that sometimes they're not a bad client, so to speak, that they're bad for everyone. Maybe it's just not your type of person, like maybe it's not your team's type of person. Maybe you just clash solely based off of creative. Maybe it's just not uh, a person that you work well with, and that's also okay. I think people are afraid to say no a lot of the time, and I understand that in a way of when you're new. Sometimes you have to say yes to a lot
Yeah.
more than you want to.
That is the interesting part, is like understanding at different points in your business. You're going to be able to say no more often as you go along, and it is hard at the beginning. Very difficult. I try to make it very easy when I started for people to say yes. I mean, this was a long time ago, but I just went to all kinds of networking meetings around like local things, and I was just saying, I'm looking for five local businesses to help me build my portfolio. We want to give them $1,000 website, and so I was just like coming out with a cheap offer. 5 people said yes, like right away, and before we know it, we had a portfolio, and we were able to run. And I did end up having to work with people where I was just like, being in the South, you're going to run into, different kinds of people. Working with a company who their only client was churches, and then working with, I've worked with churches, I've been around churches and all that. For the most part, I've met a ton of really solid, really nice, really respectful people. But working with this guy who his only clients are those people, and then to hear how much he would badmouth them, make fun of them, belittle them, and
Well,
all you do is work with churches, and you don't have nothing but hatred.
that's so awful.
It was, and I was just like, but like at that time, it was very early on. It was like in our first 2 or 3 years. It was one of our big clients just for our website, and I was like, I have to do this because I have to pay a mortgage. And it felt very conflicting. Like, okay, I'm gonna do my job. I'm gonna do it well. I'm gonna get out of it, and then and then he actually came to me a couple years later wanting to do another project, and I marked it up. I heard from somewhere someone used the phrase asshole tax. Do 30%, 40%, whatever it was. And he was like, oh, that's way higher than what I thought. I was like, oh, great. You think, yes, I'm going to make it worth my while to deal with that extra headache. And I just didn't want him to say this.
Mm-hmm.
So it worked out. But I can totally sympathize with someone who's just starting out, and they have very real bills, and the world's not getting cheaper. So sometimes you are going to have to learn to deal with people that you don't like. And maybe it's an opportunity for you to learn how do you stick to your integrity, to your values, despite being in an uncomfortable situation when it's tough. Like, can you still be you? Can you still have integrity when it's tough? That's where you really find out your real character.
I think that those are those situations in which you're put in a corner, I think really shows who you are at your core. Because I do think that, everyone is going to have a difficult client at some point in their career. I mean, if you don't, that's so lucky, so unbelievably lucky. But it's not something, but I think that those can really be learning moments about what you want to avoid in the future. And I do think that those are still important because you might not even realize the type of person that wouldn't work well with you in the beginning. Like you might think that, especially if you're someone who wants everyone to be happy, or maybe you find yourself being agreeable in situations where other people wouldn't be, you might not realize that something is kind of a burden or that it's difficult to work with in the beginning because you're just, going through the motions and making sure that they're happy and realizing that it's really overwhelming you in the long run. And that's something that, people have to realize sometimes that they don't know that's going to be on the horizon.
Yeah, I think it just ties into a very natural life lesson of, you think about it when if someone once has dreams of being big and strong and powerful, what do? They go to the gym. And what do you do at the gym? It's Planet Fitness. Maybe you're taking a nap and eat some donuts or whatever. But, at other gyms where people like really want to work out and do things, I just say because I have a friend, he took me to, and there was actually a thing of donuts there. And I was like,
What? I also didn't really know you guys had Planet Fitness. I don't know where the gyms are or what the gyms are around the country, but that's kind of funny to me.
yes. I was like, yeah, that looks real. And then I do apparently like a joke, like they're kind of a meme for doing that.
It's so funny. What the heck?
Yeah, it was pretty great.
So long.
But like for most people, when they go to the gym and they work out, like they pick up heavy things and put them down, pick them up again, they put them down, and they get on a treadmill and they run in place for about, and like that sucks and it hurts, and they're literally tearing their muscles apart to become stronger. So those obstacles that they put in front of themselves, they do that intentionally so that when they overcome them, they're not made stronger for it. And that is how you get that. That's just like you take that and you can apply that to every other part of your life. That is how you get stronger. You want to become a very successful, very powerful business person. And I hope and pray that those obstacles come in your path early and maybe often. Because it's I've worked with a lot of people, and it sucked for a lot of these people who I was just, I wish I never met you. Yeah. So, but looking back on it, it's like I didn't know how to do it before.
Mhm.
I now that I'm a stronger of a person, I can say no with more confidence, and it's not just head knowledge. It is like, oh, I know it in my spirit, like what kind of person I don't want to work with. I know what opportunities to say yes to and no to, and that's because of what I've been and the obstacles I never overcome. So, yeah, if business is never hard for you, if you never interact with any of those obstacles, you might have a lot of success. But the honest part of it is you're probably kind of weak. Like if I go to the gym every day, but I never lift anything heavy and I never do anything, I'm probably going to be pretty weak. I've been going to the gym every day for a year. Okay. You're lifting. So are you any stronger than when you started? Well, okay. No, but I show up. It's like, well, no. That's just not how life works. Life is
ribbon for that.
Yeah, right. And then like, to get stronger in life, to get stronger in anything, you have to overcome something.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's arbitrary, sometimes it's our own mistakes. Sometimes we say yes to the things that we realize we should have said no to, but it's all a lesson. And I think that's something makes running your own business so unique, is that as you learn from these mistakes and you learn from these obstacles, those are like little pieces you get to add to your story, your tapestry of what makes you, and it makes you that much stronger and have much more of a dimension to. Now you can relate to other people who are going through the same thing, and then you can actually help them. Because if I've never been through anything hard, and someone comes to me and they want advice, like, oh, you've been in business 15 years, you've had all this success, whatever. I was like, well, it's always been easy for me. So I don't
understand.
I don't know. I don't know. Right? They've been there. Then how?
Yeah, no, it is genuinely difficult to relate to someone that has not been through hardship if you have. And I think that it's it's just something that, like, how can you go to advice? How can you go to this person for advice if they haven't experienced anything difficult? And that's like, honestly, I commend those people for not experiencing anything difficult. Good for them. That is amazing. That is a wonderful life. And I for them that nothing bad ever happens to them so that they don't crumble from like a bad experience in the future.
Their life is going to be very comfortable. It's just not going to be very inspiring or helpful to anyone else around them.
Yeah.
And it's, so I think there's always going to be a ceiling or how much they can do in this. Because think about stories. Who wants to hear a story about a hero who decided to do something and no one really got in their way and everything they tried just worked and, everything was just made better by it. Okay. That story was like, people want to hear like, hear the whole movie. Who do they have to defeat? Like, what did they have to, overcome? Tell me about tell me about Luke Skywalker, this farm boy against this, galactic standing empire and how he overcomes it. Like tell me that story, and then there's so many other examples of like those stories that have spanned generations. Tell me about the little orphan kid who found out he was a wizard and then like overcame like this hatred to show like, hey, friendship conquers all, or all the other like all the other morals you could pull from Harry Potter. But like those are the stories that are just gonna keep hitting with every generation because of there's adversity there. They make mistakes, they overcome, they get stronger, they get better. And I feel like and there could be that fear of, well, I don't want to make it. I don't want it to hurt. Then that's not life. It's not realistic.
I think you also like appreciate the times when you realize that there are bad times. I feel like you can't fully appreciate them as much when you don't realize that there's the possibility of not having them. I don't know if that makes sense, but
it does. I mei've heard so many times people say like, how do you appreciate a sunrise if you've never known darkness? Like that kind of thing. And it's very true. It's who we are as humans. We empathize and create connection with each other, not only through what our shared interests and shared passions and desires, but through our shared pain. Trauma bonding is real. It's one of the best ways to get a connection with someone is to share those hard times you've been through so that they know like, oh, you too. Yeah. And all these business people I've met or studied or everything like that, so many of them have that attitude of like, yeah, I'm not the smartest guy never, but I'm just the one that doesn't quit.
mm-hmm.
And, I keep trying things that failed way, way more times than I've ever succeeded. I did succeed. And the failures, they just taught me, I found 1,000 ways of how not to do it. But, those are the people who then know once they have success, they know how to hold on to. And the people who just kind of bluff their way into success, lottery winners, they don't hold on to it. You get to fight the same obstacles to get there. Just like that kind of like life has this way of balancing itself out. And so if you actually learn from what you've been through, and I learn from my mistakes and personally and in my business, and I try to grow and get better from it, there's always going to be a positive benefit I can pull from it. And that's my choice, that's my perspective of like, I'm always going to find good I can get from this, even though it sucks. And what I went through, even though there are things where well, I would never defend it and say that was good. I would never say I would ever want that to happen to anyone else. I can say, honestly, I am thankful that I went through it because now I am who I am today because of it. And now I can help others in a similar situation.
I really appreciate you sharing me so. This is like a very lovely philosophical conversation that I should miss to have. Usually we're very businessy marketing, but this was way more fun. No offense to all.
Yeah, thank you. I do. I definitely, like I said, it's very easy for me to just like, share things from me and overshare and all that kind of stuff. So I'm always down to talk about these things. I feel like this is the crux of it. This is the source where all of these other ideas actually ring true. Like where marketing ring true is because it's something real.
Yeah.
Even if it's like socks with pockets, like if you show me something that's real, something that I can connect with, like, okay.
I connect with socks with pockets.
Yeah.
Instantly.
When the middle schooler just thinks like, oh, I could sneak that in with if I just, because I mean, honestly, how many times like was born in 87 and how many times in the 90s would I like sneak something in my shoe and it would be like,
socket.
what if I have a socket? And I just like put it right in there. So I feel like those things are real, they connect to something real. And I think if you can't pull back the purpose of your business, your messaging, how you're trying to connect to people, if you can't pull it back to something real, people are going to see it. Their walls are going to come up. They're going to reject you and you're going to waste money. And you're going to go through some hard times as a business.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I think that I appreciate all of this because I do think foundationally there are a lot of issues in corporate and agency life. And I think that a lot of this is like the reason why, I guess like we've listed a bunch of kind of things that like people don't consider or they're not factoring into like their way of life. And I do think that is really important to, listen to. So I really appreciate you sharing this with me because like the podcast doesn't usually go this way. And it's kind of, it's fun to not have to talk about business for once.
Yeah.
I appreciate you, talking with me about this and going through all these complicated philosophical discussion.
Well, yeah. Thank you for letting me have this opportunity, this platform to kind of share these things. I'm wanting to start my, this is something that I've been meaning to do for a while and kind of practice what I preach and kind of put myself out there. So I'm going to start doing this on my own. I'm glad to see that it resonates with someone.
I 100% agree. I think that things like this should be said more often. And not a lot of people are really putting their entire selves out there. I think especially in the business world, people like to put on this front that they're always doing well. And that's not relatable. People don't want to see that. I don't, unless it's like, no, I really don't think anyone wants to see that.
Especially like, honestly, this is April 2025. Like, I think, everything's totally fine. My world is totally untouched.
You are not.
What? I don't believe you.
You're just a liar.
Yeah. Like the world is tough, and we're going to be facing some very tough challenges, and going to have to ask ourselves some very tough questions. And where we go from here is going to be extremely interesting. And I think one of the best ways we can get through this, like not just as business people, but as people, and not just, I'm not even saying Americans, I'm talking about everyone, is by being honest with ourselves, being authentic, and sharing who we are, telling our stories, and listening to each other.
Well, I think, that was like a perfect way to end. There's a whole comprehensive thought, and we're extremely over time, so we're gonna stop us here. But I think that was such a great way to end it. It was like an ending to a book almost. You had I really appreciate it. This was absolutely lovely, and also thank you everyone for watching because now you get to learn some philosophy on the podcast. Really, like a new untapped subject. So I really appreciate it, and thank you so much. And I hope you guys all have a lovely day.
You've been listening to Fully Managed, brought to you by Penji. Check out the show notes to learn more about today's guest, and to learn more about Penji, the human-first creative subscription service, head over to penji.co. And by the way, if you're still listening, it would mean the absolute world to us if you were to share this podcast with a friend and, of course, subscribe.